How is sleeping in late considered lazy, but going to bed early isn't? Story 1. It's a perception thing. If you wake up early, it is assumed you are being productive with that time. If you stay up late, it is assumed you are doing something unproductive, like watching a film or gaming. It's all a bit silly, really. So long as you are getting everything done that you need to, who cares? I often work early or late, just so I can get stuff done without interruptions. Story 2. I used to work for a company that was open some holidays and made you use a vacation day to take the day off. Most of my coworkers and bosses did, but I always went in. I got a ton of work done. None of my clients were working to call and bother me with requests, and I usually called it a day by 2 because nobody was there to tell me not to. Story 3. Biologically, if exposed to just natural daylight, your circadian rhythm is going to be more linked to solar cycle. So going to sleep early is going to be more natural. Even night owls will start to go to sleep earlier when exposed to just natural light. So studies have linked people going to sleep late with lack of self-control. So going to sleep late is related to self-control, constraint rather than simply being lazy. Basically, people that go to sleep early have better health habits, sleep habits, and self-control constraint. Early birds do better in almost every metric, like income, jobs, etc. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some correlation to being lazy, maybe due to the lack of self-control. Story 4. Yeah, I had a similar talking to. I said, either I can get here and stay a couple of minutes late and work really hard all day, or I can get here on time and leave on time and just do what's acceptable. Surprise, last time at the job it came up, they picked the latter. Now I get there and leave on time, and do what's bare minimum acceptable while looking for another job. Story 5. Staying up late is often considered lazy because it can lead to waking up late, which might reduce productivity for the day. However, this isn't always true. Some people stay up late, but still manage to wake up early or use their late night hours productively. On the other hand, going to bed early is usually seen as responsible because it aligns with the idea of waking up early, having more energy, and making good use of the day. Ultimately, I think it depends on how someone uses their time, whether late at night or early in the morning. Productivity and discipline matter more than the time someone sleeps or wakes up. Story 6. The context originates from the Bible, specifically in Proverbs, where getting up early leads to getting what you need to survive, but sleeping in leads to poverty. You reap what you sow. You can't really earn much or learn much while sleeping, but sleeping and rest is definitely valuable and necessary. All of us want to hit that snooze button over and over, maybe just me, and lots of people want to stay awake late into the night to party, to binge watch TV, and then are too sleepy to get up. Of course, it's about the context, the meaning that not all work is done during sunlight hours, but the mentality and the truth is clear to understand. Story 7. It's the perception of it. Going to bed early is seen as planning ahead, whereas sleeping in is seen as being behind. As a night owl, sleeping in gets a bad reputation. I go to bed at 6 a.m. and wake up at around 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., 7 or 8 hours, sometimes only 6 hours, and it is still seen as being lazy. Why can't people understand that everyone has different sleep schedules and not everyone can or wants to sleep at night? Story 8. I just wound up with a weird double sleep schedule which allows me to be more productive and have more energy. Wake up early for work, sleep PT1 right after, then dinner, chores, and personal time into the night. Wind up sleeping like 3 hours after work and 4 hours before, but I have so much more energy in my own time this way. It's also not really by choice. My body just absolutely refuses to sleep for more than 4 hours at a time unless I'm sick or something, which probably explains why on nights I try to sleep a full 7 to 8 hours. I just wind up tired all day instead from trying and failing to sleep longer uninterrupted. But anyone I tell this to IRL thinks I'm just lazy for sleeping after work. It's actually the opposite. I want to do more with my time, so I manage within the confines of what my body tells me I need to do for my sleep schedule. Story 9. Some of us are morning people, Others are evening people. For some reason, we evening people have been trained to feel guilty about our own circadian rhythms. I have spent most of my life dragging myself out of bed to get to work early. Eventually, I realized that this was counterproductive and started to live according to my own body's rules. I get more done, my output is better, and I feel better. Maybe one day people will understand and accept this as one of many differences between us. In the meantime, find and cherish colleagues who are prepared to accept different lifestyles. Story 10. It's funny how society can put such a stigma on sleeping in, yet going to the gym early is seen as a sign of discipline. I think it all comes down to productivity culture. People feel like the earlier you wake up, the more you're accomplishing, when in reality, everyone's body works differently. Sometimes, sleep is the most productive thing you can do for yourself. So, if you're resting and recharging, you're just doing what you need. Story 11. Yes, and when you work the night shift, people assume you have all day to do stuff, and they don't. They say it's so unfair. And when day shift people insist you get up to do something with them when you're normally asleep, they say you can just sleep later. Really? While I'm at work? Because when later rolls around, that's where I'm going to be while you're. My favorite is how it's so dangerous for me to get off work, go to the gym and catch the first bus of the day home at 5 a.m., but it's perfectly safe for someone who works the day shift to get up early, go to the gym, and take the first bus of the day to go to work. I tease the same freaking bus. Just because I'm awake all night doesn't make the bus less safe. Ugh. Story 12. Speaking as someone whose everyday life is greatly affected by this, I own a business that operates from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m., and am there to close most every day, so my sleep schedule is typically from about 5-6 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm busiest on weekends, and my weekend is the slower days, usually Monday, Wednesday. I work around as much as anyone else, I just do so on a vastly different schedule. As smart as humans are, we're still creatures of habit. We tend to want to think of things in terms of how they affect us, and how we interact with them. The day starts at around sunrise, and starts to wind down around sunset, and we go to sleep when it's late and dark. The week is Monday, Friday, and the weekend is after work school on Friday until Monday morning when we go back to work school. Most of us are used to that idea from childhood all the way to retirement, and that sort of repetition is habit forming. You simply put that into your understanding of how time works, and you subconsciously use that as a metric for everything else, even if you aren't doing it on purpose. As such, when you hear about someone sleeping in, your mind goes to them sleeping extra, and not getting up and getting on with whatever responsibilities they may have for the day. But going to bed early is after those responsibilities for the day have already been taken care of. Some of that is for fair reasons. Businesses tend to be open based on the above social expectations. You can't typically go grocery shopping at midnight. I miss 24 hours Walmart. You can't schedule an appointment with your dentist at 9 p.m. You aren't going to go out for a walk in the park at 3 a.m. But you can do those things at noon, 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. respectively. But some of it is just that expectation, and dealing with the rest of the world that lives with it too. I don't blame people for it, it's an extremely hard mental bias to break. I've had people that I've known for years that still ask me if I want to do something at 9 a.m. No, Maria. I would not like to wake up 4 hours early to drive somewhere. People will typically understand when I explain it, but I can't say, oh no, I wake up at p.m. There is always that moment of confusion and a rush of assumptions about me after I say that. I have to explain I work the night shift. Even if that's not totally accurate, it's the best way to explain it in one short phrase. It's just the way things go. Story 13. So way back when you needed a natural herd inclination for some people to basically be awake all the time. Not the same people, but you wanted someone to keep an eye out for lions and crap back when we were monkeys. So some of us would stay up late, some would sleep a lot during the day and be up through the night, and some would wake up early because they went to sleep a few hours before everyone else. Fast forward to industrial England, because it's one of the first countries to industrialize. That's not really a problem. There's no predators and factories need bodies. There's also gas lighting being installed everywhere that can afford it. Now, it doesn't matter if your natural inclination is to wake up early or go to sleep late. The factory starts running at 8 a.m. and you need to be ready for work or you don't get paid. The factory owner wants it running from 8 a.m. because that's when the sun comes up and he can rely on natural light rather than gas lamps to keep profits coming in. So all those late-nighters are now suffering because the factory owner won't pay them if they turn up an hour late. Story 14. I think you also need to consider geography and local culture around. I'm in Texas, and in summers, if I'm not up by 6 a.m., I'll have to work or drive around in miserable summers, often leading to other issues later in week like headache, etc. But then winters come, and you would think you can sleep in, but then the daylight is so less. It's easier to work as daylight comes by starting to work when it's dark outside in morning than the other way around. But I was born and raised in India. Most places do not open till 11. Most jobs rarely give Saturday off, but stuff is open late in major cities. Plus, I never did housework, just called someone else to do stuff. So even if you woke up late and went to bed late, it was easy knowing someone else can take care of it. Plus, the hours are atrocious in India, so any reason to catch up on sleep is good. Story 15. This was extremely annoying when I was working as a cleaner. Some locations were only available to clean at nighttime, so it wasn't that uncommon to have shifts that lasted just until average folks woke up for the new workday. I'd commute with people going to work, eat something, and maybe go to sleep afterwards. When people heard I'd be going to sleep at that time, so many would call me lazy or have some kind of a weird, I wish I had it as easy as you fantasy of the job. When they heard I'd be getting up in the afternoon, a lot of people also systematically assumed I was unemployed, and usually that I was an alcoholic too, waking from a night of drinking. Some people didn't even believe me when I explained my work hours. Story 16. Because the world is run by morning people. I once had a job from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Everyone told me how lucky I was. Yes, I got to sleep in until 10 a.m., but that's because I got home at 10 p.m. and needed a few hours to unwind and clean up. It ruined my social life, because I'd get home at 10 p.m. and couldn't do anything during the week. While they were enjoying their evenings, I was working. But because I got to sleep in, they thought I was lucky. Story 17. We in the US and Canada come from a Calvinist tradition. The original settlers were Calvinists. Calvinism alleges that redemption comes from hard work. Crap. Even the work itself is more important than what it produces. The harder you work, and the more it sucks and you suffer, the more rewarded you will be in heaven. This led to a culture of the process being considered more important than the product. This is why some bosses are clock watchers, not output watchers. This is why some companies demand return to work when WFH hasn't had any impact on productivity. This is why some bosses are micromanagers. This is why some people think success is stolen if it came easy. This is why some people think they are entitled to promotions merely because they have worked hard, or who think that working harder than everyone else will bring success. Working smarter and better will, not necessarily working harder. A look over at our managers even shows posts where people say things like, "My most productive employee leaves 5 minutes early, how do I deal with it?" If that employee is the most productive, what exactly is the problem? If they make more sales than the rest of the team, who cares if they roll in at 10 and leave at 3? The product matters, not the slog. As such, going to bed early and waking up early is considered more ethical and an indication of a hard worker, where sleeping in is considered lazy. Calvinism runs deep here. Almost nobody who considers process more important than product is a practicing Calvinist. But they are coming from a place where it's woven into the work ethic. Story 18. I'd say the big reason is, when you go to bed early, it's because you've already finished your tasks for the day. Sleeping in late before they're done is increasing the risk they won't get done. Also, just productivity propaganda in our language like, early bird gets the worm. I get where you're coming from, OP. I have mixed feelings. I do tend to think early risers are more productive, but they also tend to be insufferable people. If I'm looking for someone to hang out with, I much prefer people who enjoy a good sleep in. They tend to have more balanced perspective on life. Early risers are the type of who spend their whole lives accumulating and not enjoying, and die with a big pile of useless toys. Of course, there's a balance to be had in either direction. Story 19. I don't know, man. I sleep really early, going to bed 8-9 p.m. earlier if I can, and wake up at 4 a.m. But at 7 p.m., I'm already tired as crap. I hate it. I miss a lot of social events and get crap from my friends all the time. They call me grandma, lazy, baby, give me crap for not being social enough. Even at my job, when I have to stay late, I get crap from my boss, or when I have to attend night classes, and the teachers think less of me because I just can't function at night. Remember that my most productive time is between 4 to 7 in the morning, when nothing is happening, not even social events. Night owls, at least, can enjoy night with their friends, can study or work until late with their peers. Maybe I'm having the grass is greener on the other side of the fence mindset, but I would rather be a night owl. Story 20. Because at some point the majority of the population was duped by the minority and shamed for having a normal biorhythm. Waking up early means good. Going to bed late means bad. In Western culture, you can blame the monks. Explanation. Current research shows that early birds and night owls are in the minority. However, most people are ambiverts when it comes to sleep rhythms, meaning you are on a spectrum between those two poles. Research further showed that the going to sleep later and waking up later crowd is larger than the going to bed early and waking up early crowd. Although the difference is only slightly above the margin of error, yet statistical significant.